Hey, hello, mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, mic check, mic check. Good afternoon. Hello.
Hi, I was telling Brent how my phone died in the middle of the night, and that meant I didn't have an alarm this morning. But magically, I woke up, and fortunately, I worked from home for the first half of the day, so that helped. But yeah, it's always abrupt when you wake up that way. Like, oh gosh, did I sleep through it? That's my story. Story time is done. You're welcome. Good afternoon and welcome to your 4 to 5. I'm Maddie Gardner, joined by Tahasia Moise and Christian Morgan today. Of course, this is an interactive show. We chat with you and we want you to chat back. So join our conversation. We live stream the entire show on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.
Governor Roy Cooper surveyed damages in Allegheny County following that 5.1 magnitude earthquake that hit on Sunday. The Allegheny County Sheriff says that around 175 buildings are damaged in the area. The Red Cross is now helping 6 families who were displaced after the earthquake. Emergency management stated 15 to 25 houses are uninhabitable. Director Mike Sprayberry says there is a good chance the county will qualify for federal assistance. Now, the state is looking now at state individual assistance programs, checking to see if residents qualify for this program. An employee at IFB Solutions has died from the coronavirus. Company officials say that employee passed away on Friday after testing positive just the day before on Thursday. Now, the company released this statement saying this individual was a temporary employee and had been working with IFB Solutions for several years. We informed our employees over the weekend, and we are all deeply saddened by this loss. We ask that the community keep the family in their thoughts and prayers.
Well, let's turn now to your 4 to 5 roundup. This week, officials in Lexington will announce what comes next in the relocation of a Confederate monument. The statue's been on Main Street there for more than 100 years. The city council adopted a resolution to move the statue last month, but since the statue is on county-owned property, city leaders and county commissioners have to work together on the next steps. Now the city says Davidson County officials are delaying those conversations and denied a request to move the statue. Mayor Noel Clark will announce what the city attorney can do about that monument on Thursday. He says it all comes down to protecting the city's interest and safety. Russia says they have a coronavirus vaccine and it's ready to use. Despite international skepticism, President Vladimir Putin says one of his daughters has already received the shot. Putin says it went through the necessary test and offers lasting immunity from the virus. However, scientists have been sounding the alarm about rushing a vaccine before phase 3 trials. Those normally last months and involve thousands of people. Russia's health ministry says the vaccine will provide immunity for up to 2 years. Russian officials say large-scale production of the vaccine will begin next month. A scaled-down Republican National Convention is happening this month in Charlotte, and now we have a clearer picture of the health and safety plan that up to 400 delegates will follow when they arrive in the Queen City. It's already started. Everyone coming has begun a enhanced social distancing practice for 14 days, and then 7 days before they arrive here, delegates have to be tested for COVID-19. Once they arrive in Charlotte, they'll be tested again, and if at any time they're positive, they'll isolate. At the convention, chairs are spaced apart 6 feet, and all delegates will undergo daily symptom checks. Everyone at the RNC will also wear a fob that tracks who that person comes in contact with and for how long. That way, if a person is positive, they'll know who they've been around. Finally, the Georgia high school student who shared a now viral photo of a packed school hallway says she's been receiving threats since. Hannah Walters says people, including her classmates, are threatening her, and she says most of those threats are coming from seniors who think she's trying to disrupt their final year. Her school reopened for in-person learning on August 3rd, but is already closed for several days after 9 people tested positive for the virus. Walters was initially suspended for sharing those photos, but the school reversed that decision. Let's come a little closer to home now. The city of Burlington is launching an online system to get permits and licenses. So Burlington Smart will let you apply for engineering permits, planning and zoning applications, even beer and wine licenses. You can also submit digital plans, pay fees, and request inspections. Now, you can still submit your documents at the city's municipal building through a computer there, and city staff will help you in person or on the phone. Burlington is also helping small businesses deal with the impact of coronavirus. Loans are now available for businesses with fewer than 5 employees. You can apply for a forgivable loan up to $7,000. The business owner or more than half of their employees must be in the low to moderate income bracket.
The NC Works Career Center is hosting a drive-through career fair. It'll happen tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The drive-through career fair is at Area Wide Protective on West Meadowview Road. AWP hires for traffic management services. Representatives will be on site searching to fill traffic control and sign installer positions. Starting wage is $10.50 an hour, but you could get a raise of up to $13.50 an hour within the first year of work. And after 90 days on the job, you get a company car. Bring your resume and make sure you have an active NC Works registration. Face masks and social distancing are also required.
And taking a look outside weather-wise across the Triad this afternoon, another hot and muggy day, yes, but pretty quiet on the radar. If you look, there are some downpours starting to pop up, but nothing causing us any problems in the Triad right now. If you take a look where we've gone so far today as far as temperatures go, you might have noticed we had some clouds this morning. That's helped us to be a little slower to warm up today, but once that sun broke through, we made it into the upper 80s this afternoon. Most places sitting in the upper 80s, 87 in Winston-Salem, 87 in Greensboro, and 89 over in Burlington. Tonight, under partly cloudy skies, will drop down to around 70 degrees. Your Wednesday going to be a lot like your Tuesday was, upper 80s for afternoon highs, but we will have a better chance to get some afternoon storms tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. So really the second half of the week looks to be a little more stormy than the first half of the week has been. As far as temperatures go, well, the heat is hanging around, the humidity is hanging around, but a chance for storms goes up heading into the weekend, but then does start to go back down as we end the weekend and start next week. It's just kind of the same over and over and over again. That very typical summertime weather. We've got it for a long time in the Triad.
Happening this evening, a candid conversation about police reform in the city of Greensboro. The TAB Art Center nonprofit is the one hosting this virtual town hall discussion. Police Chief Brian James will be in attendance along with some other community members on that panel. I talked with the panel's moderator tonight about what the hope is.
It started in July as a concept of how to continue this conversation dealing with valuing people's lives and the relationship that we have with the police.
About a month's worth of planning will be put into action Tuesday. The TAB Art Center nonprofit is holding a virtual conversation about police reform within the Greensboro Police Department.
So I think that it's great for us to have conversations, and the conversations are necessary for changes, but the most important thing is to actually change the things that are broken.
Police Chief Brian James will be a part of the discussion alongside Greensboro City Councilwoman Mary Kay Abuzawader, the Honorable Judge Laura Cubbage, and community activist Irving Allen.
Certainly, I think one of the biggest things is that we all need to listen. We need to listen to see how people feel, what has happened to them in their lives.
Moderator Sunny Gravely Fouché says the conversation will probably get uncomfortable at times, but says it's necessary as they discuss these topics.
Racism within the police department, and really the fact that there is a difference with the way that people of color are treated when it comes to small crimes or no crimes at all.
Councilwoman Abuzawader and Gravely Fouché are both optimistic the town hall will help the community.
I'm really hoping that we can begin a healing process today.
Now, this event will be on Zoom tonight from 5:30 to 7, and there will be a question-answer portion towards the end of the discussion. I've linked you on how to register if you want to be a part of the discussion or just watch from your home on our website, WFMYnews2.com.
Welcome back to your 4 to 5 days after New Zealand announced no new coronavirus cases in more than 100 days. The country now says they have 4 new cases. Their 102-day streak with no community spread came to an end when a person in their 50s reported symptoms to their doctor. The person tested positive twice. Now, they haven't traveled overseas, and right now it's unclear how they got the virus. They do live with 6 other people, and 3 of them also tested positive. New Zealand's Prime Minister is now moving the city of Auckland into another lockdown.
As of 12 noon tomorrow, Wednesday, August 12th, we will be moving Auckland to level 3 restrictions for a period of 3 days until midnight on Friday.
Auckland is New Zealand's largest city. Those new level 3 restrictions mean everyone has to stay home. Bars and other restaurants will be asked once again to shut down. And the Prime Minister says 3 days will be enough time for officials to figure out how the family got the virus and what to do next.
So I wanted to get your thoughts on this news story. If you thought maybe New Zealand was going too far with this measure, that's the question I posed to you on Facebook today. Let's get into some of your comments. Katie says, this is what the entire world should do all at the same time, but for 2 weeks. Joe Billard says, always safety first. We're taking things pretty seriously here in Canada, and that's what's keeping our numbers down. Melanie Neal says, yes, definitely going too far. Princess says, nope, they did the same thing at the beginning and now they are not dealing with a long drawn out ordeal like us. And Kevin Bruno says that is ridiculous. Now it's interesting because I went in and plugged some numbers, Maddie and Christian here, about the population size. New Zealand's population is just under 5 million. To put that into perspective, New York City has 8 million people that live there. So to try to think of on a lesser scale, up to 2 million people locking down a city, it seems pretty reasonable, and it's only for 3 days.
Yeah, it is interesting and pretty ironic that we were just talking about this yesterday, how that initial lockdown seemed to really work for the country. And it'll be interesting to find out where this family seemed to have caught the virus. But Tahesha, you make a good point there. You know, we've seen states that have been able to lock down and really get the spread under control. And it seems like New Zealand is even smaller than some of the states here in the United States. So they might have a little bit more control over where people go and what they do.
Yeah, guys, it's kind of interesting. The 3-day thing is what's interesting to me. I guess that's a 3-day period to just kind of get their, get the facts together about this family, where they had been, who they've been in contact with. And like Tahesha said, you guys have mentioned it, it's a much smaller population. So it's going to be a whole lot easier to control for New Zealand than it would us here in America. It would take us a much longer time than 2 weeks to kind of get that controlled. But it is interesting that they've been able to stay 102 days, with being COVID free. I just hope that this will be kind of an isolated event for them and that they can quickly kind of return to where they were. I know, in America, it would be a huge outcry if we had to shut everything down again. And I just don't think the majority of people want to go all the way back again.
Of course. Yeah, it reminds me of those warehouses that say this many days since an incident. Now they have to go back to 0 in New Zealand. All right, we are wanting to hear what you have to say about this on our live stream. Use that hashtag 4 to 5. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll see you during the break. Welcome back to your 4 to 5. President Donald Trump says canceling the college football season could be a mistake. His comment came before the Big Ten Conference announced that they're postponing fall sports, including football. Conference officials say that decision was made for the safety of students, faculty, and staff. Reports say the Big Ten hopes that football season can pick back up starting in the spring. In an interview this morning on Fox Sports Radio, President Trump argued college athletes won't have a problem with the virus if they play because they're young and physically fit. The president tweeted yesterday using that hit trending hashtag, "We want to play," and then he later tweeted, "Play college football." The president even pinned this tweet to the top of his page. It shows a video celebrating college football moments, and in the corner of that montage, that hashtag, "We want to play," is seen again.
Now, while the football college season is still up in the air for some conferences, in the meantime, the NFL, some of those players are gearing up for their season. So let's connect the dots on what separates college versus pro.
The college football is a lot more than just fun and games. It's a business worth billions. And making decisions about pandemic play is a little more complicated than making that call in the NFL. Let's connect the dots. Both college and professional football are big business, and making the decision whether to cancel the season or play involves a lot of the same concerns. But there's one big difference. Players in the NFL are professionals, and they have their own union negotiating their safe return. The college players are student athletes, and right now don't have a seat at the negotiating table. That doesn't mean college players don't want to play. Several of the bigger names have come forward saying they want to hit the gridiron. They just want some transparency when it comes to safety rules and a say in the negotiations. And the back and forth on this season could lead to big changes. A union for college athletes is not a new idea. An attempt was shot down in 2015 after some players at Northwestern tried to organize. A judge ruled that since they weren't technically school employees, they couldn't unionize. Now that players are coming together, demanding a say about their safety during the pandemic, calls for a union are also getting louder.
I think it is interesting that they are trying to form a union for those players there, and just to see, kind of the monetary value that goes into both the NFL and college sports. And, it almost seems to me as the days go by, Maddie, that we are hearing of more conferences deciding to postpone till the spring.
Right, and I do like how they mentioned in that story that these student athletes really don't get a seat at the table like the professional athletes do, and that's why we've seen this outcry, I suppose you could call it, on social media saying, hey, we have a voice and we want to play and we want this to happen, and they're really finding their platform to relay that message to people.
Yeah, and when you think about it, it's probably much easier for the NFL to play than it is for college students, because if you're in the NFL, I mean, that's your job, that's your career, that's what you do from day to day. If you're in college, you're going to class, you're interacting with other folks, and then you're taking it to the fields or whatever it may be. So I see where it might be easier for the NFL to play than it would be the college sports. But pushing this to the spring, it also raises the questions in people's mind: is this actually going to happen, or is this just kind of kicking the can down the road to appease people for the moment?
Right, absolutely. And I think we'll see more conferences start to make those decisions very soon. Well, even though the NFL players can play, there of course is no preseason to look forward to this year, but the Carolina Panthers want you to get your football fix. So 3 classic games are going to air right here on WFMY News 2. We are your official station of the Carolina Panthers. But here's the fun part. You get to decide which games are shown. So vote for your favorites on the Panthers website. You have until noon tomorrow. You can pick from 8 classic games and then watch the winning games this weekend right here on WFMY News 2. Hey, more of the 4 to 5 is coming back after the break. Stick around. Oh, 2020, it has certainly been a year, and of course we're not done yet, but there's a new trend that has people making their own versions of a 2020 calendar using some pictures, and celebrities are in on it. They're really getting this thing started. So we'll begin here with Mindy Kaling. Of course, you can see the progression of 2020 for her. January starts off all good. February, we're getting a little worried. March is alarming, and then the rest of the year, it just goes downhill from there. She was actually inspired by Reese Witherspoon, who has a similar montage here. She's not looking so good by September, that's for sure. Mark Ruffalo, he was fine in January and February, but is hulking out starting in June and then lasting until September. Hannah Simone, she has a similar pictures here, a similar grid going on, but you know, she's turned to food by June. She's all getting that quarantine 15 just like us. Kerry Washington also got in on the trend. You know, guys, I really feel seen when I look at these. I feel like, you know, they really understand what we're all going through here, except I lasted longer. I lasted until at least May, and that's when I started feeling a little bit disheveled with all of this.
So for you, would from May to September just be a progressive, you know, disheveled hair, stains on the shirt, you know, things like that, bags under the eyes, like what is coming next? You know, it's funny, I did that 2 cents, right, about 2020, buckle up. And here we are heading into September, and I'm just waiting for the next thing to happen.
Well, we had an earthquake on Monday or Sunday, so, you know, they're still coming out with new things to hit us with, Christian.
Yeah, you know, we thought this was going to be over a whole lot quicker than it was, and we just kind of seen ourselves, maybe, even kind of go downhill as we've gone throughout the summer. But I was thinking this morning, it's funny that we're talking about this afternoon, but I was thinking this morning, what would we have done this year, or where would we be without these memes or these things to laugh at over the course of this thing? I can't imagine a world without it right now.
We all need that humor. Just cry, you know, smile through the tears. That's what I'm trying to say here.
That's right. That's right, and we'll have to smile through the sweat as well, too. That mugginess, it's going to be hanging with us for quite a while. Taking a look at your triad weather right now, things are pretty quiet on the radar this afternoon. A couple isolated downpours or storms are still possible as we go through the evening hours, although most of us should stay dry. Temperatures, 87 in Winston-Salem right now, 87 in Greensboro, a little warmer, 89 in Winston-Salem. We had some extra clouds this morning. That's helping to slow our daytime heating down a little bit to keep us in the 80s. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, around 70 degrees for that overnight low. Your Wednesday going to be a lot like today in the upper 80s by the afternoon, but we will have a better chance to get some of those scattered showers and storms. And we also are watching now a new area in the tropics, likely by 5 o'clock. This is going to become Tropical Depression 11. As it's forecasted right now for the National Hurricane Center, it looks like even though it will become a tropical depression, in the next few days, it's going to run into an environment very unfavorable for its further development. Still, until that happens, we'll continue to watch it. Coming up, we'll get your full 7-day forecast and something cool that you can see in the sky tonight. It's coming up on your 4 to 5.
Hey guys, happy Tuesday. We were talking a little bit of WYNDHAM Championship.
Hey, ice cold milk and an Oreo cookie.
Luke, can you say this player's name for Maddie, please?
Yeah, Akshay Bhatia, I believe. I don't have his last, how do you spell his last name again? I'm not.
Welcome back to your 4 to 5 on this Tuesday afternoon. I'm Maddie Gardner alongside Tahisha Moise and Christian Morgan. Of course, this is an interactive show. It's a two-way street, we like to call it. We're not just talking at you. We want you to talk back. So join our conversations. We live stream the show on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Make sure you use our hashtag 4 to 5. All right, well, we want to get to some breaking news right now at the top of the 4:30 here. Democratic candidate for President Joe Biden has just announced his vice presidential pick. California Senator Kamala Harris will join him on the ticket in the race for the White House. He made that announcement not too long ago in a text message to supporters. Of course, this is a developing story. We'll have much more for you coming up later on. You can also find the latest on WFMYnews2.com. Well, age is nothing but a number at the WYNDHAM Championship, right? That seems to be the case for 18-year-old Akshay Bhatia, who will be competing later this week. And Luke, he has yet to make the cut in any PGA Tour event up to this point, but he hopes that is all going to change at Sedgefield Country Club.
Yeah, Maddie, Akshay's journey has been a pretty interesting one. He moved from California to North Carolina when he was about 9 years old and has always wanted to play on the PGA Tour. That's always been a dream of his. Now he's inching closer to that with the quickly approaching WYNDHAM Championship. Now, WYNDHAM Tournament Director Mark Brazel gave Bhatia a sponsor's exemption in hopes that he can make a little noise among this week's field starting Thursday. But whether he does or not, the 18-year-old is grateful for the opportunity to play with the big boys. And when it comes time to tee off later this week, he is going to keep his mindset very simple.
You know, I'm just going to go out there and just play golf. That's all I have to do, and that's literally what it is. It's just going out and playing a golf course. There's nothing, there's no secret to it. And we had a break. I got to settle down, gather my thoughts, and, I've made so much progress. I won my first pro event last week, and as an 18-year-old, that's pretty special to me. So I'm definitely excited, and I'm ready to get it going.
I don't know about you, but if I'm teeing off around Jordan Spieth and Brooks Koepka, I'm probably a little nervous, but that might just be me. But still a great opportunity for that young man. And be sure to join me coming up on WFMY News 2 at 6 o'clock during sports, as we will hear from the defending champ in JT Poston and what his goals or aspirations are heading into this week.
Because of coronavirus, no fans are allowed at the WYNDHAM Championship tournament this week, and that change will have a trickle-down effect on Greensboro's hotel industry. Now, the WYNDHAM Championship at Sedgefield Country Club typically brings in tens of thousands of people to the triad. Tournament officials say the decision to not allow fans was made for the health and safety of the community. Business usually booms for the O'Henry Hotel in Greensboro during the WYNDHAM, but that isn't the case this year.
We're sold out at both hotels, both the O'Henry Hotel and the Proximity Hotel, from Wednesday or Thursday night through the weekend. But this year is very different. The O'Henry Hotel is not that busy. The Proximity Hotel is actually still closed. So if you can imagine that if the Proximity was open, it would be a very different week for both hotels.
The tournament will go on, though. PGA golfers are in town and practicing for the tournament right now. The WYNDHAM Championship starts this Thursday, and the last two rounds will air right here on WFMY News 2. Third round play starts at 3 o'clock on Saturday, and the final round starts at 2:30 on Sunday.
Well, let's get back to that breaking news. Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden has announced his running mate in the 2020 election. California Senator Kamala Harris will be on his ticket. Biden's campaign website updated just moments ago. You're taking a look at it right now, where you can see the former vice president pictured with Harris right there on the front page. Now, Biden also tweeted about the decision. He wrote, I've picked Kamala Harris, a fearless fighter for the little guy and one of the country's finest public servants. Harris, of course, was one of many Democratic presidential candidates to throw their name into the ring, but she pulled out of the race back in December. Harris is now the first woman of color on a major party's presidential ticket. Let's move right along to your 4 to 5 roundup this Tuesday afternoon. White House Secret Service says an incident outside of the White House yesterday was politically motivated. President Donald Trump was escorted out of a press briefing, but later returned yesterday after a Secret Service officer shot a man who reportedly made a threat. Officials say that man shouted, "I'm going to kill you, I'm going to shoot you," outside of the White House. Law enforcement says the man ran aggressively toward the officer, took an object out from his clothing, and crouched down as if he were about to fire. The officer shot him in the torso. He is now in the hospital in critical but stable condition and is charged with assault on a police officer. COVID-19 cancels yet another event. The city of Burlington is calling off the 32nd Carousel Festival. This event usually draws more than 15,000 people to City Park over 2 days in September. The 1910 historic Denzel Carousel is currently undergoing a full restoration. It is expected to be up and running by next year's festival. The city plans to release a series of historical recordings about the carousel on their social media platforms. And it is Shark Week at the Greensboro Science Center. Although there are no in-person events, they planned out a week of boredom-busting crafts centered around sharks. From shark tooth necklaces to origami shark bookmarks, they've outlined the directions and fun facts on their website. Make sure you tag the Science Center in your photos so they can see those cool creations. 20 million coronavirus cases worldwide, and more than half of those are in the United States, India, and Brazil. Now, it took 6 months for the world to reach 10 million cases, but only a little more than 6 weeks to double that number. There are more than 5.1 million cases in the United States, more than 3 million in Brazil, and more than 2.2 million in India. Worldwide, more than 12 million people have recovered from this virus. There are more than 2.3 million recoveries in Brazil, more than 1.6 million in the United States, and just over 1.5 million recoveries in India.
Philadelphia police are searching for the man who punched a 17-year-old employee. Now, that man hit the teenager after he reminded him and a woman to wear a mask on Sunday at Sesame Place Park. That is a water park in that city. Now, the couple was chased by park security, but they ended up driving away in a car with New York license plates. In the meantime, the employee was taken to the hospital to get surgery on his jaw. Sesame Place released a statement saying violence is not acceptable in their park and they are working with police.
In Illinois, it is now a felony charge if you assault a worker who asks you to wear a mask. The governor signed the law on Friday. Anyone who assaults an employee can now be charged with aggravated battery. The governor says retail workers are at the forefront of public health control efforts. Businesses could also face fines if employees or customers don't wear a face covering. So I asked you on my Facebook page what you thought about this new rule. Let's take a look at what you had to say this afternoon. Marcia Zygmunt-Zatani said, "I would have thought it would automatically be a felony with no additional law needed." Patty Ann says, "I think it's a good start. Any rules or laws we make are bound to be ineffective if there are not clear and certain consequences for ignoring those guidelines. We are seeing it every day all over the country. I was raised in a strict but very loving family. There were rules, there were consequences, and we knew what they were. So many these days that don't think the rules apply to them, and our society is slowly deteriorating." Arlette Porter says, "It is time to get serious. I support the law. Simple way to avoid the big fine is to wear a mask for others and let employees do their job." Pat Wood says the workers are doing their job by asking customers to put on a mask. The customer can leave if they don't want to put one on. Don't give associates a difficult time. And I have to agree with Pat there. You know, they're just trying to do their job. They didn't come up with this rule. They're just trying to make sure that they're following the guidelines that their boss or employer gave them, Tahasia.
Right, because then they will get in trouble, you know, for not saying anything to whatever customer happens to go in the store. I do find it interesting, though, trying to raise it to a felony. Obviously, that's something that's going to stay on someone's record for many, many years. Jail time will be significantly increased. You imagine going to jail for a couple years, punching someone because they asked you to put a mask on. I mean, just do it. Just do it. Then you don't even have to deal with it, and just be respectful.
Yeah, Christian, certainly a big step up from, you know, a lesser charge there.
Yeah, and Tahisha makes a good point. You know, there would be significant jail time, and a felony is going to stay on your record if this is something that happens. So, you know, I also wonder at what point does it, you know, we've gotten to the point where it's become such a debate whether to wear a mask or whether to not, and it's so highly contested. Like, is it to the point now where we're going to have to do this, where we're going to have to, you know, press charges against people for this kind of thing? But I mean, at what level do people actually start, does everybody, at what level does everybody actually start to pay attention to this and just do it? I mean, just put on a mask. Let's get done with this thing.
Right, if you don't agree with anyone about any subject, it's not a reason to hit anyone or start a fight or punch somebody. So maybe this will really drive that message home.
All right, let's take a look at Triad weather. It is pretty quiet across the area this afternoon. We haven't seen too many storms on radar, and I don't think we will as we go throughout the evening. A couple isolated showers or storms will be possible, but I think most of us are going to stay dry. Still hanging out in the upper 80s, close to 90 degrees, but once you factor in the humidity, feels like it's in the mid-90s this afternoon. 70 tonight under partly cloudy skies. Your Wednesday going to be a lot like today in the upper 80s, close to 90 in the afternoon. Of course, a little better chance for some scattered showers and thunderstorms. We now have Tropical Depression 11 out in the Atlantic. It is forecasted to become a tropical storm over the next couple days, but as it nears the end of the week, it is going to run into an environment that's much less favorable for its development. However, it does bear watching until that happens, and we will be watching it closely for you. Now, something else pretty interesting tonight. If you look up in the sky, barring any clouds, you will be able to see the Perseid meteor shower. It's one of the better ones, actually, because it's not cold outside. So barring any clouds, you could be able to see 9 to 10 meteors per hour. Best viewing is going to be from 11 p.m. until 12:30. So stay up late and go check it out if you can. 7-day forecast. It's hot, it's muggy, watching for some storms each afternoon.
All right, since you've been talking about masks and COVID, we're going to talk about this. Every week we have Cone Health expert here answering questions, and mask questions are a staple, of course. This time around, though, we got a question I hadn't heard before, and it deals with this. Do you know what that is? Can you tell what that is?
Yeah, the neti pot.
Yes.
Ew, Tanya. I don't like it.
Makes you a little uncomfortable,
Right.
thinking about someone putting something up their nose and snot dripping out the other side. Okay, well, some people love them, some people hate them. Anyway, the person wanted to know if a neti pot could help them wash COVID away. The answer is no, it cannot wash it away. Now, is a cloth mask or a paper mask better at protecting you?
The paper masks have generally been found to be more effective in capturing the virus particles in the droplets that come out. But certainly a cloth mask is better than no mask. The cloth mask can often be made with only one layer of fabric. The more layers, of course, the better filtration, but the hotter the mask is, and also the harder it is to breathe at times.
Again, Dr. Jordan says any kind of mask is better than no mask. Tonight at 6 o'clock, we're answering the question, do you sneeze into your mask? And does that compromise your mask when you do that? All right, we're going to talk about that at 6. Hey, and don't miss this because it's your chance to ask your stimulus-related questions, and I know you got them. We have 2 stimulus experts in today ready to answer your questions. You can text those questions, 336-379-5775. These experts will be answering your questions from 5:30 until 6. Now, don't forget, this is text only, so don't call the number.
Welcome back to your 4 to 5. A new government data survey suggests many people are giving up their U.S. citizenship. Bainbridge accountants found more than 5,800 Americans gave up their citizenship in the first 6 months of 2020. That's compared to just more than 2,000 people who gave up citizenship last year. The data comes from the Federal Register, which publishes the names of everyone who gives up citizenship every 3 months. While those names are published, the reason for giving up citizenship is not. Fun fact, though, if you do give up your U.S. citizenship, the IRS charges you a mandatory fee of $2,300.
Pay us before you go, right? Well, reports say it is possible American citizens who return to the U.S. with the virus may not be allowed back into the states. Now, according to Reuters, President Trump is considering banning someone if they are suspected of having coronavirus. Now, this draft legislation says this could also apply to anyone who may have been exposed. The order would include protection for those travelers, so constitutional rights are not infringed upon, but there is no set time for how long a citizen would be kept from crossing state borders. Now, the rule would apply to all ports of entry, including airports and the northern and southern border.
The New York Mass Transit Agency is asking Apple for help in slowing the spread of coronavirus. They say more people are taking off their face masks to unlock their iPhones. They're asking Apple to come up with some new software that will better recognize faces with a mask on. Now, Apple did release an update that simplifies the unlocking process. There are still some bugs that they need to work out. MTA is offering to spread a public message to riders about that update if Apple can fix the problem quickly. Now, I have often said that I've had issues. Looks like we're having some issues getting my co-anchors up this afternoon, but definitely trying to unlock with a mask. Sorry about that. Some audio issues there. Now you see we all have some technical glitches we have to work out, but certainly trying to unlock an iPhone if you have that facial recognition software can be more difficult with a mask on. And why don't we check in with Christian Morgan, who is not wearing a mask in his house, to give us the forecast.
No, I am not wearing a mask in my house as I sit in front of my computer.
All right, well, we are going to take a short break, but the 4 to 5 is coming back right after this. Stick around.
Hi there, 123, 123.
Well, taking a look outside, for the most part, it's been just a dry, hot, and muggy day. But looking at the radar, things are still pretty quiet. An isolated downpour or storm is still going to be possible as we go throughout the evening. But again, I do think most of us stay dry. Down to 70 degrees tonight under partly cloudy skies. Your Wednesday will make it into the upper 80s again. But keeping a closer watch on the radar, I think we got a better chance of getting some thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon. And this is hot off the press. We now have Tropical Depression 11 out in the Atlantic, and it's forecast to take the Caribbean track, which a lot of these North Carolina storms have taken. But the thing about it is that it's expected to run into some pretty harsh dry air and wind shear that'll likely chop it up by the end of the week. Until that happens, though, we'll continue to watch it, just in case we need to be on guard. Right now, it doesn't look like we will. Also, something cool that you can see in the sky tonight, stay up late from about 11 p.m. until 12:30. That's going to be your best time to check out the Perseid meteor shower. It's one of the better ones that we get throughout the year. You could see 9 to 10 meteors per hour. Just look to the darkest point in your sky, and of course, try to stay away from light and those kind of things like we normally tell you to do. 7-day forecast, well, it's pretty much a lot of the same. Upper 80s, close to 90. Temperatures aren't going to move a whole lot, and neither is the humidity, but our chance for storms does go up a little bit for the second half of the week, heading into the weekend, and then backs off a little bit as we head into next week. But that typical summertime weather, it's hanging tough for quite some time.
Coming up on WFMY News 2 at 5 o'clock, Guilford County School Board leaders are meeting today, a week before the new school year begins online. How almost 80,000 laptops on order could take many months to come in. That's next on WFMY News 2 at 5 o'clock.